Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Monday, December 8th, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll hear from Variety's Brent Lang on the box office. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 overperformed in its debut. That made for 3 good days at the box office for Blumhouse, Atomic Monster, and Universal. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Much has happened since our last episode on Thursday, December 4th. Netflix cinched an agreement to buy Warner Brothers and HBO Max. All that industry chatter that Netflix was only in this to be a spoiler, to kick the tires and look at WBD's books, that was all nonsense. They were in it to win it the whole time. They're also looking ahead to the future of slowing subscriber growth. This diversification makes sense, especially with sui generis assets like Warner Brothers and HBO on the market. But David Ellison of Paramount Skydance is also in it to win it. He's indignant that Paramount's offer was rebuffed, and he's gone public with it. In a conference call this morning with Wall Street analysts, you could hear the frustration in his voice. Ellison's unsolicited overtures for Warner Brothers Discovery in September and October kicked off the public bidding skirmish for WBD. In Ellison's view, this should be simple math. They are offering more dollars for the company than Netflix's bid. But the decision is not entirely about money. It's about what's best for the assets that are utterly unique in the history of entertainment. Warner Brothers Studio is foundational to Hollywood. HBO reinvented television, starting with live polka dances and hockey games in the early 70s. That's true. You can look it up on Variety.com. So Paramount Skydance went hostile this morning. The next steps for everybody aren't entirely clear, but the WBD board has cozied up with Netflix, the prestige player in the entertainment marketplace of today. It's going to take a lot for Paramount Skydance and their coalition of financiers to drag WB and HBO out of the arms of Netflix. We'll stay on the case and bring you updates at all hours of the day and night until it's settled. We're not even done with 2025, and we already know what one of the biggest stories of 2026 is going to be. As if all the WB, Paramount, and Netflix drama wasn't enough, this morning also brought news of the Golden Globe Award nominations. Congrats to all who made the cut. Make sure you check out all of the Golden Globe analysis on Daily Variety's sibling podcast, Award Circuit. That show's terrific team of Clayton Davis, Emily Longaretta, Janelle Riley, and Jazz Tanke will break down all you need to know about this year's nominations field. And speaking of awards, on Sunday night, Variety was showered with kudos at the 9th Annual Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards presented by the Los Angeles Press Club. We are so grateful for the recognition that included the awesome Print Journalist of the Year honor to our beloved music writer and critic, Chris Willman. Willman is such a pro that not only did he win that award and 4 more, he also wrote up and posted our story about Variety winning all those awards on Sunday night. That's modern journalism, folks. A whole bunch of stories about the WBD drama, the Golden Globe nominations, and Variety's triumph at the Press Club Awards can be found on Variety.com right now. And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Brent Lang, Variety's executive editor, joins us to break down the weekend box office numbers. The sequel, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, was welcomed by horror fans as the Blumhouse Atomic Monster title way overperformed expectations. And that's another notch in the win column for video game adaptations on the big screen. Brent Lang, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being our steward of the box office this weekend.
Always fun to substitute for Rebecca.
You have big shoes to fill. She's an able successor to your role as box office chief. So, very happy day for Blumhouse and Universal. Five Nights at Freddy 2 opened bigger than expected, and with movies these days, sequels are no guarantee that the audience will show up. Brent, what stood out to you about the performance of this sequel?
It did do so much better than projections, which were about 35 million to 40 million, and it did 63. And that's particularly impressive because Five Nights at Freddy's only cost, I think, $36 million. So it was a very economical hit. Blumhouse, and Blumhouse, now they go by Blumhouse Atomic Monster because they merged with James Wan's company. But they had needed something, they needed a win because they'd had a really rough year at the box office. Things like Wolfman and Megan 2.0 had not done so well. And they'd been one of the most consistent hit makers in the industry for over a decade now. So this shows that they may be rebounding. And I think that's really good news for movie theater owners who really need that type of consistency.
With Five Nights at Freddy's, I know from my very unofficial poll of the tweens and teenagers in my life that this franchise is very resonant with them.
It's kind of a bizarre thing with these animatronic killing machines, and it's also based on a popular video game. And right now, video games are proving to be very successful when they're adapted into movies. That had not historically been the case. It had been a very difficult genre for movie studios to crack. But in recent years, you've had like Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario Brothers movie, and this year a Minecraft movie, and they've all done very, very well. And they seem to really resonate with younger moviegoers, which is also good news for cinema operators because that's the exact generation that people are really worried are turning away from longer form entertainment like film towards things like TikTok and YouTube. So I think the fact that this is something that appeals to this demographic is kind of exciting, actually.
And this opening probably ensures that we'll see a Five Nights at Freddy's 3.
I would imagine, and maybe a 4 and maybe a 5.
And also in your story, Brent, big sigh of relief, Zootopia 2 is not slowing down. It's crested the 900 million mark at the global box office, which is a lot of coin.
That's fantastic news for Disney. In just 2 weeks of release, the film has reached about $915 million globally, and a lot of that has come from the international marketplace. Particularly exciting for Disney is that this film is already the number 2 Hollywood movie of all time in China. It's made about $430.4 million. And that's good because since COVID, tensions between the US and China have really resulted in major studio releases not doing very well in that marketplace. But there's a Zootopia attraction at one of the Disney parks in China, and there seems to be like a real resonance with that brand there. So if you look at really what is behind this, a lot of it has to do with China and how the film is resonating there.
Brent, what is the reigning champ among Hollywood movies for China box office?
That would be Avengers Endgame, another Disney movie. So clearly they have the type of big franchises that can still kind of resonate in that very, very difficult market to crack.
In terms of the marketplace, I would imagine that Five Nights at Freddy's 2, very nice surprise for exhibitors, but people, I gotta believe, are really bracing for the next Avatar movie, Fire and Ash, in 2 more weekends?
That's what a lot of hopes are riding on because right now the box office just crossed $8 billion. And I think going into this year, there was a real hope that it would actually reach or surpass the $9 billion mark, which it has only done one time in the post-pandemic years, and that was the Barbenheimer year of 2023. And actually right now we're kind of running neck and neck with last year, which was considered to be something of a disappointment. We're only about 1% ahead. So the hope is that Avatar will be another $1 billion to $2 billion success story that will really close out the year on a high note because it's been a very roller coaster one for the box office. We've had some real highs like Sinners that kind of came out of nowhere and did really well. Minecraft movie. We've had some really great sort of scorching periods at the box office. And then we've had some real doldrums, October being, I think, the worst in about 30 years. That inconsistency has really caused a lot of alarm among cinema operators who thought this was finally going to be the year that they had put that post-pandemic blues behind them, and it has not proven to be the case.
Brent, I'm sure your conversations talking to people about the box office today, I'm sure that it addressed the big N-shaped elephant in the room, the big news that came down on Friday that Netflix has a deal to buy Warner Brothers and HBO. And we're still trying to make sense of it all, but I would imagine talking to people in film distribution and exhibition that there's a lot of strong reactions to this news.
A lot of cinema operators are very, very fearful about this deal. They do not, frankly, like Netflix very much. They believe that streaming has really upended their business model, and they have a lot of trouble working with Netflix, who does release films theatrically, but does it in a fairly limited way in order to mostly to qualify for awards. And so I think Ted Sarandos's comments about the windows and that they would honor existing agreements for Warner Brothers, but at the same time, he also said that he expected windows to evolve in a more consumer-friendly way. I think a lot of people read that as windows will shrink. And for theater owners, they see that as an existential threat. They absolutely believe that shorter windows have infringed upon their ability to make money, that it has encouraged people to wait for films to come out on home entertainment, and that that's denied them profits. And so I think they are extremely wary about this deal. One exhibitor on Friday told me that he absolutely wants to see it killed. He's very, very hopeful that it will not go through. We can't predict. We don't know what will happen. And it's possible that once Netflix owns Warner Brothers, they will start to see the value in a theatrical release and all of the downstream revenue that can lead to. But for the moment, I would say that most exhibitors are feeling very pessimistic about this news.
Of course, you reported today that, in fact, Ted Sarandos has got a jump start on the lobbying effort in having a very specific meeting with President Donald Trump talking about this transaction. I have no doubt that that has probably kept the social media posts from flying in terms of sharing the president's opinions on this. But again, a lot of unknowns here and so much to cover.
As you suggested, this is not a normal regulatory environment. And I think Ted Sarandos recognizes that there needs to be a real charm offensive in order to make anything happen in Donald Trump's Washington.
Well, from crunching the numbers to following the high-level negotiations on this merger, thank you, as always, for working virtually round the clock. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. The Game Awards will be handed out on Thursday evening at the Peacock Theater in downtown Los Angeles. Variety's Jennifer Maz is heading west to cover the marathon ceremony that recognizes top video games. Variety is wrapping up its coverage of the Red Sea International Film Festival in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia this week. We'll hear from Variety's Alex Rittman in tomorrow's episode on how the festival has evolved and what it means for this fast-changing country. We love to hear from our listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. And you can also go to Variety.com and subscribe to our precious print magazine. Before we go, congrats to James L. Brooks, the multi-hyphenate who helped bring us The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Taxi, Terms of Endearment, Broadcast News, and The Simpsons, is getting a star on the Walk of Fame on Thursday, December 11th. It coincides with the release of his latest movie, Ella McKay. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Brent Lang. Sticks, Nicks, Hick, Picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.